Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to this Game Week 5 deadline stream. Fast turnaround. Only feels like yesterday, literally, that we were talking again about our teams, but here we are. So let's have a look at the current situation for me. So we've had some late Reece James news about a possible illness, and of course Trippier, as expected from my breakdown video. I did anticipate this flag coming, to be honest. So muscle injury, 75% chance of playing. So I can't even really play him against Liverpool. So I think I'm going to be forced to make a second transfer. So already confirmed Mount to Rodrigo, which happened over the weekend before Rodrigo's price rise and Mount's price fall. So I'm thinking really the only option, I could sell Reece James, but I think I'm a hold for him for now. I'm a little bit disappointed that I have to sell Nico Williams because he was in my plans really in terms of his attacking threat. He looks really good on the statistics. But I think I'm going to be forced to sell him and move him to either Gabriel or another Brighton defender. They're the kind of two options, I think, for a second transfer for me. So hopefully this news hasn't completely disrupted everybody's plans. I think there's a lot of managers out there that had the luxury of 2 free transfers right this week. So if you've already made one, then potentially this James news isn't too hurtful. But that's where I'm considering it at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see where I go with it. But essentially, this is what this final hour is all about. We're going to be thinking about different options. Just having a little review on stats. I think really, to be honest, the Arsenal defence is where I want to target. I was just having a look over at the statistics for teams on Scout, and City, no doubt, of course, are the best defensively, and their fixture run over the next few is looking very good. But with Kyle Walker already in there, I can't stretch as far as getting Cancelo for a double up. I don't really want Diaz, to be honest. I can afford it. I can go Nico to Diaz and potentially have that double up option. But I think Arsenal looks better. They've got the United fixture at the weekend, which is a little bit tricky. But the way that my team is at the moment, if I keep Reece James, and I think if the speculation at the moment is that he's only out with illness and not with a major injury. So if that's the case, then I think ultimately he can come in against West Ham over Gabriel or an alternative Arsenal defender and still give me that flexibility. Potentially Trippier as well, of course, instead of him. So I think I'm leaning more towards an Arsenal defence, as I also don't really want a Brighton double up. But again, here we are. That's the breakdown so far. A lot of people were calling out though for a bit more action in the FPL world. A lot of people following the same kind of template, burning transfers and everything else, and then we get, of course, risk of rotation and Reece James news as well, which is great. I think it is safe to say, though, that James won't be starting. I am almost tempted to go with him, though. That's the thing, and just see. But then ultimately, I don't really want Nico Williams or Trippier coming in. So I think I'm going to be forced to make that second transfer, unfortunately. It's not the end of the world, though. I'm still glad I'm not having to take a hit to deal with it. think the only other possible short-term punt would be Perisic, right, from Nico Williams. But again, I'm not so sure about his overall minutes. I did really like that as Estupiñán as a differential pick, but do I double up on Brighton though? I'm just not sure I'm feeling that as an option. He looks great though. I mean, he's in the top 10 for possible expected goal involvement from defenders, which is very good. And I kind of put him in the watch list as a differential in the first place, but his numbers are looking really good. I just feel like I should play it safe though with Gabriel. Yeah, I'm just I can't see any more additional news on the severity of Reece James being out, but I've definitely seen a couple of tweets about him apparently just being sick. So if that's the case and it's just a short-term thing with illness, I fully anticipate that he'll be back at the weekend, which is why I'm kind of in the hold camp at the moment with him. Could be a mistake, but yeah, again, just looking at the statistics here, I think Arsenal's probably going to be my best bet. There's a lot of Ramsdale owners. There's a lot of people that own an Arsenal defender, so I think now might be the time to get on board with them. With that second transfer that I've got available, I think it makes sense to do it. The other alternative, like I've mentioned Diaz, but I'm not 100% certain on him, to be honest. I think with City, it's always going to be a risk with their rotation. Walker's even a doubt, right, to some degree, which is going to be a bit frustrating if he doesn't start today. But we knew it was coming, these midweek fixtures, so it was bound to happen at some point, right? But yeah, I can't really get to anybody that I would like, to be honest, from Nico. But 2.1 does give me a little bit of flexibility. Why Haaland captain? I just really think that even if he plays, the kind of coin flip I've put out there is, for me, even if he doesn't start and he plays 30 minutes, that the anticipation is that he scores more points overall, even on a 30-minute cameo appearance, than Salah does in 90 minutes versus Newcastle. I think, to be honest, with Newcastle, they have got injuries, especially with Trippier now as well, so potentially Salah's a good option as well, of course, right? I think the predicted points are around about the same, sort of 7 or 8 mark. I just think, though, that Haaland in 30 minutes, even if he doesn't start, can still do more than Salah. So that's why I've gone with him, to be honest. And I think ultimately, right, because this season's a little bit different. Last season, I think everybody was captaining Salah all the time. So you felt like putting the armband on anybody else was going to just hurt your rank all the time. Whereas this season, it's a little bit different. We've got some other options. We've got Haaland, we've got Jesus, we've got Salah, really is the kind of 3 options. And think about it this way. If you own Jesus and Salah already, which you probably do, a lot of managers do, then even if you don't captain them, they're not going to hurt you as much because their effective ownership isn't going to be as high this time. More managers will be putting the armband on Jesus and Haaland than other players, basically, in previous seasons, is what I'm trying to get at. So before, Salah's effective ownership was nearly 200% because nearly 100% of managers were putting the armband on him. Right now, it's like 125%, for example. So there's kind of less damage in terms of what he can do, but I feel like Haaland can do more, again, in that short space of time. So glad you enjoy the content as well, bud. Like I say, I'm trying to kind of put out as regular stuff as I can. Not many people watching tonight, though, but I did expect that. So thanks for sticking around. Are you a Reece James owner as well? What's your plans with him? You sticking, twisting? I think I'm in the same camp as you, mate. To be honest, I think he's still going to get that West Ham fixture, and potentially the Fulham one as well, right? So I think if he gets those two, he's a definite hold for me. I think I don't know what your strategy is. I mean, I know he plays Liverpool in game week 8, and I'm potentially looking at a game week 9 wild card anyway, which means I can probably bring him back in if I did sell him. I just don't know who I go to if I sell him. And like I say, I like the fixtures here, so maybe you feel the same. But have you got a bench option, or has it forced you into another transfer, mate? That's the thing. I'm in a little bit of a tricky situation because I've got Trippier as well, right? I could always sell him, but again, he was always in my plans really to kind of bench in game week 3 and 5, and then bring him back in from game week 6 onwards. So I don't really like the idea of selling him. Yeah, so you're in the same situation as me. So I think, to be honest, if Trippier didn't have the flag on him, I probably would have just played him against Liverpool and just hoped that maybe, Salah, Diaz or someone only scores like 1 goal, right? And just he gets a 2-pointer. Then I would have been happy with that, because ultimately, I sell Nico Williams. I like his statistics. And it's kind of a shame to kind of feel like I have to get rid of him. But I just think out of the defenders as options, he seems to be the most likely to have to go. Who are you thinking about? Have you got a route out of Nico? You got any transfer in mind? Like my personal, as you can see on the screen, I'm looking at either Gabriel or another Brighton defender, but I'm really not sure at the moment. 45 minutes to make the decision though, so yeah. So you're going Arsenal routes. That's the thing. Saliba is a little bit cheaper as an option, right? He's 4.7. Gabriel probably doesn't rise in price, but I just like the set piece threat from Gabriel over Saliba. I know he got that assist, but that was really strange. He sort of just bounced off him, didn't it? So I think I prefer Gabriel as an option overall, just for that. I know it's a little bit extra money, but that's where I'm leaning at the moment. I just think with the situation here in game week 6 for United, I think ultimately that's why I'm saying I think if James plays, then if I bring in an Arsenal defender, I can just, because I do think there's goals in this game against United, I can easily see a 2-2 or quite a big score, to be honest. United do look better defensively, but I still think that we're going to go at Arsenal, especially if they beat Villa, right? If they beat Villa and win 4-4, then it's almost like United's the hope for the Premier League to stop them from making history, right? So I think ultimately you can see goals in there. So James coming in, if he's fit against West Ham at home, looks good as they're struggling a little bit. And then I think so Fulham have got obviously Tottenham away, so Andreas wouldn't be playing in game week 6 for me, and Trippier, as long as he's fit against Crystal Palace at home, would come into play, right? So I've got options, I guess, if I keep James as opposed to sell him. Lock it in, bud. Go and lock it in. Zinchenko replacement. Well, if you want to stay on Arsenal, I think the obvious choice would be Saliba or Gabriel, right? Who are your bench options? Yeah, good luck with Haaland captain as well, mate. I think it's worth it. Silva or Gundogan for Mount. I think Gundogan as a short-term punt makes sense. He was benched, obviously, in the most recent game. And I think that if you're only going to keep him for a couple of weeks and you don't mind playing the mini game of Pep Roulette, I think Gundogan against Forest and Villa is a very, very good 2-week punt. The other option is to go with who I've gone, essentially, which is Rodrigo. I think even with Bamford's return, his minutes might be a little bit more risky. He might not necessarily get into the same places that he's got into before, but I think ultimately he's a great option at that price. So I think if you've got Andreas on the bench, mate, just play him. You don't necessarily need to get rid of Zinchenko. I think especially if you owned him since 5 million, just keep him, because I think it's holding his value. No worries, Lookman, mate. I'm glad you stuck with him. That hat-trick was immense, right? Cancelo captain, I like it, mate. I think he's got potential to return. The only thing I would say about it is think about his underlying numbers. He's not really, in terms of attacking output, he's nowhere near the likes of Trent and James and so on, right? So just anticipate that if you're going to captain him, you're probably going to be banking on just a clean sheet, right? So maybe 6 points turns into 12. No worries, bud. I hope that helps, mate. I think, yeah, both are sound options, mate. So good luck with whoever you go with. So who do we think then? Who do we think? Nico Williams looks like he's going to be the one to make way. I don't think I'm going to sell James. I'm just looking at the team moving forward, and I just don't think it makes sense for me to sell him. I think he's going to play against West Ham if it's just illness like that's been reported on Twitter so far. I think ultimately he comes in against West Ham, right? And there's no reason to sell him straight away. Do I go Nico Williams to Cucurella? Do I want a Chelsea defender, or is it better to go with Arsenal? Transferred Luis Diaz for Kulu. That's better, right? You mean did you have Luis Diaz and you've transferred in Kulu, or you've transferred in Diaz for Kulu? Sorry. I don't think I can go double up on Brighton, right? I can't go. I kind of want to take a punt on that Estupiñán. I think his statistics look good. I don't think he gets the right amount of minutes, though, unfortunately, over the next few games. But I think Fulham get something out of that game at Brighton. Kulo out for Diaz. Yeah, mate, I like the move. I think ultimately, Spurs' fixtures, they're not the most perfect, right? They've got some tricky fixtures coming up. I think Kulu's great as an option. Who have they got next? Because that's the thing, you've sold them ahead of... Yeah, okay. So it's West Ham, Fulham and City. I mean, I can see him doing something against West Ham and definitely Fulham, but who knows? He could be a rotation risk as well, right? Whereas Diaz is potentially a little bit more nailed at the moment, at least until Darwin and Jota come back. I'm not sure about the move, to be honest. I'm going to sit on the fence with it. I think you could have held Kulu for a little bit longer, I think. And West Ham looks shaky at the back at the moment. I know they got the 1-0 against Villa, but my dad watched the game and he said that it was a bit fortunate for them to come away with that win. So I can definitely see Spurs doing some damage to them. But we'll see. David Moyes obviously wants to bounce back from the team. They've not looked very, very good on the first few weeks. So we'll see. Right, how long we got? 35 minutes to make a decision. I think really the only Brighton defender, I'm going to put him in here, is Estupiñán, and then the only other person I guess could be Williams to maybe Saliba. think they're the three options that I've got. Could throw Cucurella into the mix as well, I suppose, but I've become the private consultant. Well, I think, to be honest, mate, that, like I said, the fixtures, Kulu's stats don't look too bad. I think ahead of the fixtures that Spurs have got, at the moment, he doesn't look like he's being sacrificed by Conte. So it's something to consider, because Son seems to be getting substituted early over him. Now, originally, when the season started, he was kind of down the list in my preferred 8 million midfielders because of that reason. I thought he was going to get more rotation because of Richarlison and so on. But Son, where he's not ticking at the moment for whatever reason, Kulu seems to be getting the majority of the minutes. So I think that's probably going to continue to happen. We might see a bit of rotation, though, in the midweek. So I do understand why you want to maybe move. But then I suppose it depends. Do you see that as a direct improvement? Is it the only area of the pitch that you can improve on, right? That's I guess, the decision-making process that we go through. If Kulu to Diaz, it feels a bit sideways to me. In terms of fixtures coming up, I think Kulu can match Diaz. So if you've got other fires to put out, especially with things like Reece James, with Trippier, with other players now that, even Kyle Walker, for example, potentially going to be a rotation risk. Other players, you might be able to improve your team elsewhere. So that's all I'll say. I think you just got to try and maximise the use of the transfer, right? I think it's pretty guaranteed that James won't play against Southampton. I'm just looking for more updates, but ultimately all I can see is just, swarms and swarms of people either benching him or selling him. So I definitely think if you've got a bench option, don't sell him. That's going to be my approach, I think. Nico Williams to Walker and Trossard to Eze Gross. 2 free transfers and 0.3 in the bank. I don't know, Matt. I don't think that you need to sell Trossard, really, if I'm honest. I think ahead of Fulham away, you're just moving sideways to Gross. So I don't see the need to do that. And I think with Kyle Walker, just be careful with him. I'm not 100% sure he's going to get a start today. I think, that new the new left back that they signed, is it Gomez, I think his name is? I'm not sure, but he got 45 minutes, I think, against Barcelona. So he's definitely been training and he's probably getting up to fitness. Cancelo can play at right back and Walker might get rested today. So I'm not 100% sure on those moves, mate. Have you got any... So without selling Trossard, have you got any money to change Nico Williams to anybody else? Because I imagine he's coming into your thinking because of Reece James, right? So what's the situation with your team? I don't think we're going to get any more news, are we, from Pep? He's basically just said wait and see tomorrow in terms of Haaland. I still think it's worth the risk, though. I don't know if you guys are on Haaland captaincy as well. I think a few people have mentioned that they're going with him, and good luck with it, because I feel the same. I think that he's the right route, but then I felt like that with Jesus, right? And then look what happened. So I think it's going to be an interesting week for captaincy, and especially with this late news with certain players being out, right? It's definitely going to spice up the week a little bit. A few people maybe taking -4s. Still really don't know where I'm going here. Brighton double up or Arsenal? I think Arsenal defence long term is probably going to be better, but I do like Brighton's defensive fixtures as well. It's just I'm not too sure short term I trust them against Fulham. A double up maybe is a bit too much. So between maybe Gabriel and Saliba, I'm going to have a look at some stats with these guys. Let's see what we can do to compare. Let me see if I can show you guys what I'm looking at quickly here. Where are we? Pick the team. Right, so here we've got Saliba versus Gabriel in terms of scout statistics, right? So obviously Saliba's the cheaper option by 0.3. Both have played the 90 minutes across all 4 games. Goal each, an assist for Saliba, more than Gabriel. But the stats here, this is where I'm interested in. I'm always interested in these figures here. 0.9 XG, 0.05 XA. Of course, from open play, it's not good from either of them, right? You're anticipating some kind of set-piece threat. But I think as an isolated this person versus this person, or Saliba and Gabriel in this case, I think I'm leaning towards Gabriel. I've got the flexibility to obviously go with a more expensive option. How do you compare? Well, this is just a comparison tool from Scout. There's many ways to do it, I think, to be honest. But considering that you've asked, if we have a look at Kulusevski versus Diaz, right? So you were mentioning he's got the funny eye in his name. Try Lewis. There we go. So comparing Kulusevski to Diaz, right? When you have a look at the XG, the XA, and everything else, of course, on the right hand side is Diaz, left hand side Kulusevski. When you have a look at XG, of course, the stats are massively in favour of Diaz, but then don't forget he's just on the back of a brace against the Bournemouth side that are woeful at the moment, right? They've just sacked their manager as well. But look at the assist value. 1.23 versus 0.2. Diaz doesn't seem to be getting into the right positions for an assist point of view. So I don't know. I just think they're so close together that it just feels like a bit of a wasted transfer for you, bud. That's my thinking anyway. But like I say, these comparison talk, they're only one part of the puzzle, right? There's plenty of other ways that you can compare data and work out what's best for your team. But that was it as an isolated decision. I just don't think that's worth. 25 minutes till deadline. Well, it's not as like we have to sort out our bench options really this week. I'm going to put James as first bench, but I don't think it matters too much. I think pretty much he's not even travelled, right? Well, it's safe to say he's not at this point. Let's just sort out the camera. It's gone a bit blurry. What other options have you got, Lookman? Other than Kulu to Diaz, what else are you thinking? Let's see if I can. I'll see if I can find you. Are you in the mini league? Let's see if I can find you. Find you in here. Yeah, Kante land. Yeah, so you got Lloris in goal, so 5.5 for sure. You can easily downgrade him, right? You can free up probably $1 million by going to a 4.5 keeper, 4.6, whichever you choose. Maybe even a Ramsdale. That'll give you, so you're at 0.6 in the bank already. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of options there, I think. If you've got your 2 free... okay, you've used 2 transfers, though, so it would be a -4 for that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame with like someone like Vestergaard, for example, not playing 4 million. So I can see, yeah, I can see you've got limited options, really, but... I think Kulu needs to stay, mate. Honestly, I think you've got other fires to put out because you're a Reece James owner. I think what makes more sense, like you say, is bringing Williams in for James, play Trent Walker, hope that Walker starts, downgrade Lloris. You know, just take the hit. Probably someone like Sanchez is your better option at the moment with the defensive fixtures, and then just literally look to upgrade Nico to probably someone like an Arsenal defender like me. So Gabriel, Saliba. That way round. I think it makes more sense to go for Saliba or Gabriel over Ramsdale, for example. Ramsdale and, let's say, Dunk, I think is a worse option than Sanchez and Gabriel, for example. So, no, if you've already made the transfer, unfortunately not, mate. Once you've confirmed it, you can't go back. So, and there we go, guys. Knock, 50% chance of playing for Reece James. The flag's up. Whew, look at that bench. Haven't seen that for a while. So I'm not sure if there's any more news that's come out on how serious it is, because if it is serious, then I've got I've got more options, I guess, because I could go James to, let's say, someone like Cancelo, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think now that we've got this flag of 50% chance of playing, I think I've just got this sneaking suspicion now that he's not going to make it for the games ahead. I think if he doesn't make West Ham or Fulham, then it's kind of pointless, because I'll more than likely try and bench him against Liverpool, and then with Palace, Wolves, Villa, Brentford, if he is okay around this time, then I can always wild card him back in. The only thing is, though, is that just transferring him out for someone, 8.1 million, I don't even know where to go with that in terms of defence, right? I still feel like it's more than likely just going to go to Gabriel. I keep Nico ahead of Bournemouth at home, Leeds and Fulham, which are very good free fixtures. It does help me out maybe a little bit, but I think, yeah, now James is flagged at 50%. I think there's a good chance he misses the weekend games as well. But we've still got 20 minutes to to make a decision. Who did you end up transferring then, Lookman? What did you do? I think now, right, we're going to have to change these transfers. I think I'm going to keep Nico Williams, and we're going to go with James instead. That 50% flag is much more confirmation, I think, that he's not going to start at the weekend. So I think it's better to take him out now. Yeah, I think I like this a bit more, and then transfer James out. Saliba or Gabriel. In a lot of ways, I'm actually glad this has happened. I mean, if we have a look at James' ownership, right, there's so many managers that had very similar structures to teams, very similar, let's say, template picks, 44.3% ownership. You know, I think pretty much the community is now going to be split on whether to sell him or not, right? He's 50% chance of playing. I think ultimately it just makes sense to get rid of him now. But it means I think we're going to see some interesting shifts, I think, in terms of player options, which is good for the game. It should be like that. I definitely think a lot of content creators have kind of struggled, really, myself included, because it's difficult to recommend certain players in when you know that there's so many that are better. Right, it's very difficult. You know, we want to be different to some degree, but we also want to make sure that we defend our rank in some ways, right? So I think I'm going to do one last comparison on Saliba and Gabriel, I think. Let's have a look at what our team would look like in the future. Okay. I think I'm definitely leaning towards an Arsenal defender just because next week it gives me the availability of benching Gabriel or an Arsenal defender, bringing in Nico Williams for Bournemouth at home. Potentially rolling the transfer as well, as the team looks quite good. Having a captaincy option with Salah against Everton as well looks like a pretty good option. So I think this is the route to go. It gives me a little bit more money as well to play around with in the future if I want to get to, let's say, someone like a De Bruyne, or even Saka can go all the way up. Martinelli to Gross, I don't like that move, mate. Ahead of Villa, I think it doesn't make sense. Are there any other options that you've got to get Gross in? I do like Gross as a pick, 100%. I've been fortunate enough to own him for a couple of weeks now, 2 attacking returns, but yeah, I think there's better routes to him, mate, than Martinelli to Gross for sure. I think Martinelli's numbers are very, very good. Right, I think we're going for it. I have 3.1 in the bank. That feels like such a tremendous amount of money, though. It really does at this point. But, I mean, 11 million then, I guess, from Saka. Let's say he doesn't hit against Villa. Who have they got next? Obviously United, Everton and Brentford, though, very good fixtures. But ultimately he could come out. Then it gives us options to go for as far as Sterling, Fernandes. We can get into that price bracket as well if we do this way. Ahead of a wild card as well in 9. So I think this might be the better route to go. And that does keep Williams. He's 32 in the ICT index in terms of threat. So, his statistics are backing up keeping hold of him rather than selling him. It's this run of fixtures here that I like him for. It doesn't even necessarily need to start for me. It's just having him as a good bench option, right? So I think I'm not forced to sell him. We're going for it, guys. We're confirming. Gabriel it is. In he comes into the team. Triple up on Arsenal. Let's tweet it out. Bear with me, guys. Where are we at? 12 minutes to go, guys. Thoughts on Kane captain? I mean, it's differential for sure. I mean, have you got Salah? Have you got Jesus? What are your other options? Because I think ultimately he's a good option, but I wouldn't necessarily put him ahead of Salah though. If you haven't got Haaland, I think I'd probably go with Salah. West Ham are looking a bit shaky though, to be honest. So it's definitely a game that he can do well in. Chris, I do like targeting the Forest fixture, but ultimately in the next 3 matches, you're going to anticipate that he's going to get benched on at least one of them. My thoughts are that he starts against Forest. So I think he gets rested against Villa, plays 30-minute cameo, whereas Kane's got Fulham. So for me, it doesn't make sense to transfer him in. I think with the midweek congestion, it's so difficult to call what Pep's going to do with him. I just think it's just hold him for now, hold Kane for now, in my opinion. His fixtures now, it's almost it's too late. You know, I would have done it last week. I would have definitely sold Kane for Haaland last week, I think. But you know, he went and got 10 points anyway, right? So he nearly matched Haaland. It was only 7-point difference. It's not too bad. So I think at this point you just you hold Kane for sure. All right, let's update transfers as well. Chris, have you got any other options anyway in terms of transfers? Like, is that a free transfer? I just feel like there's many other moves that you could do as opposed to just that kind of, it feels a bit sideways, right? Because it's not just for this game. It's if you've got to look at transfers as a kind of at least 3 kind of game week return value. And I think that Kane just looks okay. Even against City, he could score, right? Yeah, so if you're in a situation where you don't have to put out any fires, I think it's not a bad place to be in terms of burning a transfer. I mean, if there's absolutely, I've personally look at it and think if there's no other areas that you can improve the team, because I don't think Kane to Haaland is an improvement. For this game week, probably is. I would say that if Haaland starts against Forest, he could do some major damage, but against Fulham, I think he could do some damage as opposed to Haaland, right? He's got Villa and potentially only gets 30 minutes. It's a really close call, bud. It really is. I'm definitely a little bit salty about that James news, though. I brought him in, 2 weeks ago. He scored me 8 points across those 2 weeks. And Robbo obviously went and got 9 points against Bournemouth and 1 point against United. So he scored more. But then obviously Gross was an upgrade on Neto. So, you know, overall, I'm definitely, you know, on a plus overall from those 2 transfers that I made in game week 3. But yeah, it's a little bit frustrating now that he's already out. Just a little over 5 minutes, guys. Don't know what positions people are in terms of bench options, but just I'd just make sure that you've got the right order in place. Double check your captaincies. Let's have a look at that team then. Sanchez, Cancelo, Diaz, Dunk, Cucurella, Salah, Martinelli, De Silva, Jesus, Haaland, Kane. I'm going to take a chance on Captain Kane. I like the team, mate. I like it a lot. It's got a very, very high ceiling, I think, this week. I think Martinelli doesn't start this week, though. Looked knackered after the Fulham game, and ESW is back in full training. That is an interesting point. I mean, I haven't got any information in terms of kind of Arsenal supporters or anyone on Twitter that back that up. But I mean, if he doesn't start, that will be a shame for his owners. Who would you have you got him in your team though? Have you got a bench option that comes on automatically? Because if you've got a strong enough bench, again, is he worth taking out? I mean, United fixture definitely at the weekend is a little bit tricky, and maybe he gets a rest, right? Because ultimately, Arteta might value him a lot more in the United game versus Villa. That's no disrespect to Villa, but they just don't look as good, right? He did do a lot in that Fulham game, though, didn't he? He had plenty of shots, and his XG was much higher than Saka. I was definitely very, very lucky to get to come away with a few more points than the Martinelli owners last week. Evening, Keith, mate. Where are we at? 4 minutes till deadline. Key for the Reece James news, mate. I've had to transfer it. Well, I didn't have to transfer him out. I could have gone with Nico Williams out instead, but once I saw that 50% flag, I don't think he's going to make this weekend, right? So I've gone with Gabriel of Arsenal. Would have definitely preferred to carry the transfer over for game week 6 for sure. With the fixture congestion, it may mean that we've got a bit more surgery come the weekend, but hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get into game week 6 without having to, or game week 7, without having to make a transfer. Then I'm really trying to avoid -4s as best I can. Refresh those teams, guys, one more time. 3 minutes to the deadline. Just double check everything. Yeah, I saw that news as well, that apparently he's only ill, but then he was flagged on FPL as knock and 50% chance of playing. So, I mean, I kind of, the way that I sort of broke it down, I suppose, for people watching at the time, was that ultimately his fixtures, I do like the West Ham and the Fulham fixture for 6 and 7, right? I was probably going to bench him here for the Liverpool match anyway. And then, of course, game week 9, I'm looking to wildcard. So ultimately, if he's out for the West Ham game and he comes back for the Fulham match, then I'm only holding him just for that Fulham match. And ultimately, in game week 9, I would potentially look at wildcarding him in anyway, based on the international break, and just see what news we get, right? So that's kind of why I ended up selling him, to be honest. It frees up a bit of money as well to improve the midfield, maybe moving forward. But I did hear that he is only ill, so potentially he still comes in for the weekend, right? But Salah, Haaland captain, Saliba in. Good luck, mate. And you. I think they're good moves overall, mate. I think, look, Haaland might not pay off. It might not pay off. I've just, at this point, I mean, I've 1.6 million rank. I haven't got massive amounts to lose, right? If I was top 100,000 already, top 50k, 60k, maybe I'd go a bit safer with Salah. But I just feel like that even if you give him 45 minutes in this game against Forest, he's going to absolutely demolish them. And again, no disrespect to Forest, but I can just see it happening. So, very, very happy to have captained him, and good luck to yourself as well. And Keith, yeah, no, I agree, mate. If you're also an Andreas owner, I'm in the same boat, right? He was always going to come in for Trippier this time. Of course, I didn't foresee the James problem. But I think he's a great option against Brighton. I think Fulham can come away with something here. And that's fair enough. If you've made the 2 transfers, I agree. I don't think the -4 is worthy of it. Completely understand, mate. Completely understand. I was saying in the stream earlier that I'm kind of glad it's happened in some ways, because a lot of teams were looking very, very similar. No one really knew what to do in terms of their free transfers. This has just spiced it up just that tiny little bit. Like across the community, I think so many content creators were saying, well, I'm kind of looking at burning a transfer this week, right? And when you're in that type of position, you know something's wrong with a game, because football is unpredictable. You're supposed to really be tinkering with a team, right? I can't remember a season since I've played where so many people have had the freedom really to burn transfers. So I'm glad it's happened. Are we locked? Let's have a look. We're locked in, guys. Good luck. Captain Haaland. Can he do the business? We will see. We will see. Could do some damage. Could do some massive damage. So that's the team locked in then, guys. Sanchez, Nets, Trent, Walker, Gabriel. I am a little bit concerned that Walker doesn't play, to be honest. I am a little bit concerned, but I've still got a high percentage chance, I think, of him starting. Andreas, Gross, Saka, Rodrigo, Salah. Really liking that midfield now. Saka's probably, again, one of the weaker points. And then Haaland, captain, Jesus up front. Haaland, 4 goals, the Norwegian machine. Mate, if that happens, I mean, I would feel sorry for Salah owners then if he doesn't match anything or doesn't even get at least one attack in return again. Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. That would be absolutely phenomenal. I can't see it though personally. I think he potentially gets a brace against Forest. Yeah, I kind of, toyed with the idea as well, Keith, about keeping it on the kind of safer option. I think when a player doesn't get an attack in return in a 9-0 victory, I only see really kind of more positive things coming from him in the following game, because he's just going to be hungry. He missed 2 absolute sitters. His stats are great. I think ultimately Salah or Haaland were the ways to go this week. Maybe Jesus, of course, or Kane for maybe a bit more differential, but good luck, mate. Good luck with it. And that was my thinking as well. I think even with Newcastle's defensive problems, they've got like a few injuries and stuff going on, right? I still think that Eddie Howe, he's a great manager, and I think he'll be able to shut out Liverpool. I think it's at Anfield though, so it's a little bit difficult, but I think ultimately they can shut him down, which is why I didn't go for him. And minutes wins, yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. And that is the concern I've gone into with Haaland captain, is that ultimately he could easily only get 30 minutes and only score 2 points. 1 point, sorry, but doubled, of course, for the captaincy, so he might not get anything. But like I mentioned earlier in the stream, 1.6 million rank, it's game week 5. Ultimately, there's so many managers already in that 1.6 million above me that would have wildcarded, would have triple captained, would have played certain chips, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm kind of happy if I get a red arrow still at this point. It's wildcard onwards where I focus more on trying to improve on rank. Yeah, he basically come out and said that Alvarez, he's happy with him, he's impressed with him, and he basically said that if Haaland doesn't start, he will be. So he could definitely be challenging Haaland for that spot in these fixture congestions for sure. But again, mate, we'll have to wait and see. Fingers crossed for both of us, bud. Right. Ladies and gents, we are locked in. Like I say, I'm not 100% happy with the James situation for my team personally, but I think overall it makes the game a little bit more interesting this week, moving forward, right? So, good luck to everybody. Again, great pleasure to be streaming to you guys. Yeah, it's just been fantastic with the amount of support I've had so far, and I'll just be continuing to improve. So, hopefully, you'll join me on the journey basically for this season. Good luck for this week. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do consider doing that. It'll be very, very welcomed, of course. And yeah, like the stream before you go if you enjoyed the content. So good luck, everybody. Thanks again for tuning into the stream. And yeah, I'll 100% be live again for Game Week 6 come the weekend. So look forward to seeing you back again. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Good luck again.